just to help us move through the intense energy that we're actually sitting in. And even if you're not conscious of it, I have pretty much no doubt that you're probably feeling it in other aspects of your life if it's not the energy aspect. So let me know what you're feeling, how you truly are, and let us slowly now move into the space. We're at 3 minutes and 33 seconds, which is beautiful. Angel numbers everywhere from me, and I'm seeing 433 now on my clock, my time. So let's take a moment, let's ground into this space before we begin. 8 of us here, beautiful. Just allow yourself to come fully present into your body, arriving here as much as you can today. No need to force, simply bringing yourself in here. Your body always knows, so if there's any contraction or charge or aches in your body, it merely really is the mind trying to anchor in, trying to say hello, right here, right here. So just bring your attention to any part of your body that you're feeling any tension, and simply go inside of that tension. Let's take a moment here for all of us to come in. If you don't feel any tension, you're wide open, that's beautiful. Simply allow yourself to breathe deeply into your belly and bring your full energy, your presence, even more deeply into the space below the navel. And for the rest of you, if you feel any tension in your body, go to where the tension is. We're not about bypassing here. We're meeting the chaos, we're meeting the uncertainty, we're meeting the tension where it is at. To deepen our connection with ourselves, we have to be able to arrive in the uncomfortable places. So once you've grasped, once you've arrived at the tension, the area where you feel the tension itself, allow yourself to be seated within and imagine yourself as pure light from within, opening outward like a flower blossoming forth. Let your light through from within release and open up the tension from within. Letting go, releasing, and you'll be perhaps surprised at how easy that could be. Your mind can be so surprised, and yet there has never been anything that is meant to make it difficult, or nothing is meant to go against you. All is here for you, as you, through you. And once you are able to release, allow yourself to gently just weave yourself into the space below the navel. You can use your hands, place one hand upon each other, whatever that is for you, and place that around the lower area of your belly. Bring your mind into this space. Place your mind in the center of that place. Let your mind sink into this deep ocean of chi here. Continue to breathe. Breathe through your hip joints. See if you can breathe down into the tailbone. Let the sacrum open to the side, like doors opening from the inside. See if you can breathe into your perineum and release the perineum. Open the perineum. See if you can open your hips, your hip bones, your pelvic bones. Really feel yourself seated here. And open up any tensions around the pelvic bones, the sacrum. Let the sacrum open. Continue to breathe. See if you can travel down through your thighs into your knee joints and open your knee joints. From the inside, inhale and exhale. Release from the inside. Continue to allow your chi to travel down through the shin bones, all the way down to your ankle joints. From the center, inhale and exhale, release the joints, open the joints from the inside. Travel down into the soles of your feet, into Yongquan, the eternal river that runs through the balls of your feet. And feel the electromagnetic field here connected to the soles of your feet. Become aware of your subtle body. This is what you walk upon, this is what you seat yourself upon, the chakra 10, your destiny, a direct reflection of the celestial body that continues to funnel in from formless to form. The more you're able to detect this subtle body, the more connected you are with oneness. You as the unified field coming through into physical form. So in this moment, I invite you to open your eyes very slowly. Allow the chakra 10 to beam up into your entire being. Higher self to higher self, all of us here sitting together in a circle. Hello Ben, welcome. Hello to everyone. And you can all do the same. You can look at each other through the virtual space. Whether you can see the faces or not, it doesn't matter. Simply saying hello, hello cosmic being, welcome. So welcome to this tea space. This tea space is a place to simply be. This tea space is for letting go. A place that is reflective of your state of consciousness. To see your aversions and attachments as they are. Letting go here is a state of inner peace, of going beyond duality so that we see the limitations that any of our avoidance of pain or attachment to success and control have placed upon our divine expression. This authentic expression of the divine, which is really a dream the divine dreamt to life, is one and the same as the undifferentiated source. This authentic expression that you're invited to express is happening so that source can experience itself. And so when we move into this beautiful space to talk about how can we weave Cha Dao into our daily lives, the first thing you must understand is what is the Dao. The Dao is really this place, this undifferentiated, I can't even speak the word, undifferentiated source. And the word that came up, it's not about whether I can pronounce it, but it's more like source, the transmission itself wanted to use that word, which is so interesting because if it is up to me, in this human state, I will probably not even tap into that and say, maybe we should use another word that's much easier for me to pronounce. And yet, this is what it means to be a vessel, a crystalline vessel. Beyond this carbon-based version of us, the bones and the blood that we are, it matters. It absolutely matters. But we are coming to this consciousness right now where we are anchoring in a new level. Some of you may have heard of it as the new earth, and some of you may have heard of it as the new epoch. Some of you may have learned of it as the 5D consciousness. And for us to do so, we must understand that we are fully human and fully divine at the same time. And the Tao is who we are. The Tao is this oneness, undifferentiated. And from the Tao, two were born. This polarity that we may know of as yin and yang. And then from the yin and yang copulating, joining together, 10,000 things were born. And so for us to return to going back to the Tao is very simple, actually. How do we go back to the state of this undifferentiated source? It's very simple. All the sacred texts speak about it. All the ascended masters have spoken about it. The sages have written about it. The wise women, the wise men, they've all talked about this. It is to follow your heart. It is to be so humbled by the divine will that you surrender to that love. You surrender to that infinite divine mandate. To have the divine will to be your will. And what that can really look like is that life is a mystery to live, where you will feel that there is something that's calling you forward, and you go forward. You go with that courage. You go with that enjoyment of not knowing. And this is where Cha Dao comes into play. I don't know about you, but I am so grateful that I have this beautiful devotional practice that we know of here today as Cha Dao. Cha is tea, Dao is the way. And it is difficult. Let's be real. It is difficult in today's life to find that unfettered true nature, that very authentic indigenous soul. Because there is so much going on. There is the noise, there is the digital realm, there is the work, there is the people, the blah, 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 blah. It's so noisy. right? It's so noisy out there. I don't know about you, but at least for me, I get to come back to the crystalline 0 point field through Cha Dao. The moment that we come into Cha Dao is to see tea as a medicine. We work with tea as a sacred plant medicine. And it is truly a plant medicine that through time, because of the commoditization of tea, we've sort of forgotten that it began life in the forest. It began life as a plant that was very much seen as the empress of all herbs. And the tea that I'm talking about isn't your herbal tea. And I want to make the distinction because herbs of different varieties have their own vibrational frequency. The tea that I'm talking about here is this beautiful indigenous tea, this traditional tea that we know of originating from the sacred spaces that we today call China. Back in the day, it is really the south of the clouds. You know, it borders where Vietnam and Laos is. It's where the beautiful sacred rivers run. This space is so rich with minerals, and some say the divine temples have been there for a long time. The celestial beings live there for a long time. And until today, if you go back to Yunnan and you speak to the people who are there, who actually work with the tea trees themselves, you know of them as farmers. But for me, I have been so honored to be able to observe their intertwined relationship with the trees as they see the trees as their ancestors. And as they bless the trees bless them. So when we work with plants in that way, when we are able to open our hearts to plants in that way, something truly magical happens. And I always say this in all my ceremonies as I work with my clients, is that the medicine of the tea can only work with you to the extent of your ability to open your heart up to her, to tea spirit. And this is why I have no worry that you may get too much of it or too little. I have no worries, because it is in direct correspondence to, you know, how deeply you desire to come into this. If you come in with a dose of skepticism, then you will take away exactly what you were there for. If you come in with this willingness to completely crack open, and in fact, in Cha Dao, we have a word for that, and in Japanese, it's jaku. It means cracking open your heart, like really allowing that moment, that luminosity to enter. And that is alchemy. You know, we're crystallizing something completely different here, from formless to form. And alchemy requires the willingness to burn away the dross, to burn away things that we no longer see as required in our lives. In fact, we call it chaos, we call it uncertainty. And sometimes I think when we take these words very literally, it can come across as not what it was meant to mean. And I'm going to go deeper into this. When we speak about ascension, when we speak about spirituality, when we speak about the spiritual aspect of a practice, we must first and foremost remember that these ancient wisdom were created, they were formed, they came into form, they crystallized in a very different time. So even as we speak about this ancient wisdom of Cha Dao that originates from thousands of years ago now, I can speak about it in this way and also tell you that as a multidimensional woman who very much came across this powerful plant and was invited into carrying it forward as its sacred keeper, you know, I have had my moments where I was able to really travel beyond time and went back into the Lemurian age to see how the tea tree has actually been at that time. And let me tell you, those were very different frequencies and different forms as opposed to where we are at right now. Right now, we are our density is a lot denser than those different epochs, than those different times. And if we were to deepen into this, when we talk about those epochs, the moment we start to think in terms of them being our past, then we're not stabilizing in our ability to be multidimensional. Why? Because as a multidimensional being, all of us are here, by the way. There's no, you're multidimensional and I'm not. We all are, and we are all at different levels of that multidimensionality. You are able to tap into the quote-unquote past and the quote-unquote future, but everything is literally here already now. Parallel timelines running through each other, times when we're seeing different things, and that's why when we are so aware, when we're able to tap into this in our daily lives, we can literally quantum leap. Last week would look very different from this week. Yesterday would look really different from today. The feelings, when you're able to really meet them and alchemize them, when you're able to come into that place where I speak of, this tea space of letting go, where you're not averse to the pain, and also at the same time you're not attached to more and more success, more and more material stuff. You're not attached to that. You simply know them as it is. You are literally embodying your part, your role as the descended masters. You are a master to begin with. You're coming in, you're funneling in from formless to form. And it is your work to express that into the world. This remembering that is happening, it is literally happening in my tea space. Every person who steps in is actually looking through the eye of this awareness of what is. Not trying to change it, not trying to avoid it. And we can then move as the cosmic magnificence that we truly are into higher dimensions in the infinite field. This infinite field, it's not something I invented. Yeah, it's very much alive. It's very much been there for a long, long time. Even Buddha spoke about this infinite field of all there is. So we work towards that here with the power of Cha Dao. And Cha Dao really is the bridge. It really is the bridge. And beyond the bridge is really up to you. You know, how far do you desire to go? How far are you willing to go? That really is up to you. I can only facilitate the opening up of the bridge. I can tell you and give you everything because that wouldn't do you justice. That wouldn't be the real teaching. That wouldn't be real embodiment. And I think the issue is that a lot of times nowadays in the spiritual world especially, there's a lot of regurgitating and then there's a lot of giving information where it is akin to me starting up the whole fire up for you, but you have no idea how to tend to it, right? And then it either fizzles out or it just goes raging into out of control proportions and you have no idea how to tame it. And we don't want that. We've had enough of that, and I think it's time that we really come into doing the real boots on the ground work so that your luminous body is able to anchor in and infuse your physical with that pure essence of who you are. This is your new vibrational standard setting the field. And so when I was thinking about what I can say about Cha Dao, I know that you are able to access the story of Cha Dao. I mean, all the information out there on YouTube, on Google, like it's out there. What I can offer you is from my very own experience as a multidimensional woman who really works in different timelines, multiple timelines, and my own journey. And also acknowledging here that my journey is vastly different and perhaps something you've never even heard of in the world of tea. And it is my pleasure, my honor to share with you that I do work with tea in a very different way. I do work with tea in a very cosmic way. And my work is truly here to lead with this crystalline energy as the multidimensional woman that I am at the forefront from the very center of my divinity, so that I can allow your human experience to unfold in the highest energy standard, energetic standard, frequency standard. You are energy first and foremost. So my conversation can be quite high level for some of you, maybe not in a you know, you're lower in a higher way, but more like it's beyond your mind, beyond your analytical mind, and that is perfect. What I want you to really hear is the frequency. You may not know the words that I'm saying, maybe. You may not know some of the words that I'm talking about, but trust that the frequency is already landing, and it is a seed that is germinating as you allow yourself to be receptive. That let your yin be receptive enough to let the energy flow through you. And when the time ripens, trust that it is going to sprout. Trust that it is going to sprout and grow and reach further up into the stars where you came from. That is who you are. That is absolutely who you are. And the way of tea does that for us beautifully. The way of tea guides you back into your inner wisdom, what you already know, what you already understand. Tapping back into that intelligence is vital for all of us right now, because I truly believe that the real global crisis that we're in, you know, we talk a lot about how can we save Mother Earth, how can we do better, how can we be more sustainable, all of the things. However, at the very root of it, we cannot deny this, is that the global crisis that we really are facing is that we are not able to remember the sacred within us. We're not able to see the sacred within us. We're not able to see that we are one with nature, that we are one with the sacred, that we are the divine. Fractals and fractals of us coming through to be expressed in unique ways. So allowing yourself to remember this is the first and foremost thing that I always invite everyone who comes in to sit with tea in ceremony with me. It doesn't matter what tea you're drinking. It doesn't matter what modality I'm serving. It doesn't matter all of these things. Like these things we deepen into together in practice. If you are someone who is like, yes, I want to learn, I want to be initiated, I want to really be the one to share this eventually as a practitioner or an artist of the healing arts, then yes, these things are for you to sharpen and refine. But before all of that, you've got to cultivate the spirit. And tea spirit is only able to be found. It cannot be planted by a teacher or manufactured by AI. It is within you. It has to be awoken within you. And my hope is that as I speak, there's something in you that calls out to you, and you can recognize that as the voice of harmony, of liberation. Yes, Heather, I love that. So, Eightfold Path is, it's in Buddhism, a very essential teaching. And the interesting thing is Cha Dao is very interwoven with Chan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. And there is a saying that Zen and tea are one flavor. So for the uninitiated, we will often find, and I love that you just finished an intensive course. Perhaps this is your next step, because what we will find is that Buddhism has a lot of roots in what we know of today as Taoism. And the Tao itself is almost like the source origin of everything. And this is almost like a cosmological, ontological connection that we make in terms of how we connect with the cosmos, the great mystery out there as a human being. Remembering that we're cosmic, and when we do, the saying goes, as the sage Lao Tzu would write in Tao Te Ching, is that when you are aligned with Tao, there needn't be any necessity for rules or regulations, because you already know what is the right relationship to spirit, to yourself, and to others. Integrity, humility, to flow and be fluid like water, to be humbled by spirit, to know that, to know the voice of ego and to differentiate that with the voice of spirit, which is really spirit coming in and merging with matter, that soul that you are is born. This is who you are the soul. Yeah. And so these things oftentimes are brought forward in a Cha Dao tea ceremony. And it goes beyond any kind of description I can have. So I'm going to share my story with you, and hopefully that will come through. But so much of the teachings are actually non-verbal. And that is why I oftentimes find myself just sort of reaching kind of like like the end of the rope when I try to share Cha Dao in words. And oftentimes I always ask myself, like, there's so much noise out there. How am I contributing to that noise? How am I contributing to that noise while at the same time remaining authentic to the teachings and the bearings of this beautiful tradition and the wisdom that it carries, while at the same time actually spreading it in a way that is in integrity. So what I can say for myself is I highly recommend that you come in and experience the tea ceremony for yourself. I offer them in all kinds of different tiers. I try to come on here once a month and offer a free session where you get to join me for 3 bowls together. But the whole version, the full length of it is something I would highly recommend you come and experience for yourself, because the transmission from Tea Spirit to you is very different for every person. But for me, I crossed paths with Tea Spirit in 2019. And at that time, I was very much living a life that I would say I was very happy with. I was freshly in a relationship that was really, really good for me. I was fully recovered from 10 years of anorexia and eating disorders. I was finally recovered, loving my body, really experiencing actually the first time Kundalini awakening in my body as I was practicing yoga and meditation. But there was this little thing in me that I was like, I was living in Hong Kong. I was living in a dream flat, doing work that was my dream as well. I literally wanted to do to be at the exact company, to be doing what I was doing literally a couple of years before that. So it was like, what the hell happened here? Like, everything's amazing. But I was starting to open up spiritually, even though at the time I wouldn't know what to call it. I would have meditations and I would have astral journeys where I would just flow all the way up, and I would come back to my body and kind of feel that emptiness and not know how to bridge that gap. And I would remember thinking like, I feel so good in the meditation, but the minute I leave the house, or when I leave my flat, I would feel like everything is just the same again. I don't know if anyone feels that way. It's like, you know, how do I bring that meditative state out into the world? How that's what we know of today as embodiment. But back then it was very much like, okay, it feels like I have a double life where I am meditating and very much in my poetic sense of self, and I was astral traveling. I was having all these amazing experiences. But once I arrived back in my body and got out of it, walking the streets, going to work, at my desk, I was like, ugh, everything was very affected by everything around me. So I remember during one of the meditations in the evening, I asked the universe, I said, universe, please show me a way. I know there's so much more to this, but I don't know what it is. Can you show me the way? And very swiftly after that, I got an invitation. I was working in media at the time, so I would often get a lot of media invitations, but this one landed on my desk, and I was like, oh, a tea ceremony invitation, that's interesting. I mean, I love tea, why not? I'll go check that out. And I went. It was a beautiful place that was serendipitously literally a few floors down from my office at the time. And this is so unheard of, but it was literally a sanctuary in the city of Hong Kong. And I remember sliding the door apart, and then I walked in, and it was just pure quietness, the quietude of such a deep level of peace. And I went there, I sat at a table, everyone was already pretty much there getting ready. I think they knew more than I ever did. And I was not expecting anything really, but the woman who was serving, she served a bowl of hot tea in a bowl, which was the first time I ever seen. I was like, what is this? I've only drank soup out of bowls. So that was amazing. And then I picked it up, I drank the tea, and that was the moment when I really heard Tea Spirit speak with me. And she said, you have to drop everything you know and go and serve tea. And at that same moment, I had this beautiful vision of my grandmother, all the grandmothers that I knew of, and I knew energetically all the women, the matrilineal line in my life that I've ever known, were there with me. And what I saw in that vision was my grandmother sitting next to a boiling cauldron, and she was waiting for, all I knew, just energetically, without any words, I just knew that she was waiting for the liquid to come to boil, to be in that perfect boil so that she can ladle it out for me to drink. And it was that care and that reverence and that intuitive knowing and connection with the plant, knowing that when it's ready, all of these things I can see in hindsight right now, but at that time it was just such a beautiful, deep, reverential moment of knowing, this is how it feels like to come home. Finally knowing that feeling, to actually feel it, not just intellectually understanding it, but feeling it, like this is how it feels like to come home. This is how it feels like to be home. And so I had a moment. I had a moment of doubt, of human fears, of course, where I was like, who am I to do this? Like, I didn't know anyone in my family who did tea ceremonies or even had anything to do with tea. And yet, the voice of Tea Spirit was so loud, in her gentle way, that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And there's just something about this experience that every time, even until today, when I touch the bowls, when I hold the teapot, when I smell the tea and I can see the tea moving and changing form, I have this moment, like I feel like I want to cry. It's like I have come home to the divine, like I am home, I'm with grace. And it is such a beautiful honor to continue walking this path and sharing this medicine. And I want you to know this. This is liberation. This is harmony with Tao. And honestly, that really propels me to continue to share in a way where I'm sharing things with you that some people may easily say, like, that is so, like, I don't get what you're saying at all. And there are people who will say, I totally get what you're saying. And there are people that I've worked with, beautiful women that I've worked with in particular right now, because I'm called to work with women in particular, that have oftentimes come into my space and said that they don't know what it is that called to them, but they know that they needed to work with me. And this is a journey. This is truly a journey. And what I can say for certain is that the spaces that I hold, they are places where you do not have to filter anything. And that is the spirit of tea. The spirit of tea is always about, when you come into this space, there's no you're higher or I'm lower, or I'm higher and you're lower. All of us here, we come from different backgrounds, we come from different truths, perhaps, the lowercase t. And we come into a place where we remember the truth. And it begins with having a place where you can share your truth as it is. And that's why it matters to me that you get to have that place. You know, my brand, my business, called When Still Waters Speak, was really born out of this spirit. I started sharing tea in ceremonies, and then I began to mentor people. I began to mentor women in terms of their body issues and confidence. And then eventually it became, because my spirituality began to expand, there's no denying that, you know, we are here to now really remember that we're so much more than this carbon-based body. Yes, we may come into the work of well-being, the work of spiritual development, because maybe you have had a health issue, or maybe you've had something that happened in your life with your relationships that really called you forward. It's so important, of course, it's important to find the equilibrium, to have inner peace, to live a great life, to unlock that wealth codes in you, the freedom codes in you. But make no mistake, you're more than that. There is a lot more to that story that I believe we are ready to hear. You know, understanding the sacred arts, you know, of alchemy. You know, we're not just doing that to get something. You know, back in the very ancient times, these ancient ones were doing the devotional practice, but they didn't have a name for it. They didn't have to say, I'm going to do a devotional practice. Their life is a devotional practice. And maybe perhaps right now it is a little bit harder to do that, but we get to really weave the ancient wisdom with our modern way of living. And I think that is why we're all here. This is why we chose to reincarnate at this time. All of this to say, I hope you know you are never alone. No matter how far along the journey you have come, you are not alone. Whether you are doing this, you've done this for a long time, and suddenly you feel like everything is just coming apart and you can't tell anyone because you're so scared that, what if I said that and then people would say that it didn't work, or they would say that I am not worthy of being a teacher or a healer or whatever it is that you're doing, or CEO, or, you know, a leader. But here's the thing, to lead right now more than ever, we lead with the vulnerability of our hearts wide open. Our hearts have to be wide open right now. And tea facilitates that. Tea drops us out of the logical, protective personality into the heart. And where I come in is to hold that space in this beautiful place where we really get to be coming in unfiltered and share our truths, so that the energy can rise from a very anchored place back into the heart. Because yes, you can be heart-centered, yes, you can come in and be generous and compassionate, but that needs to begin with the understanding that it begins with you. Otherwise, you will be psychic and flying all the way out there, and you have no grounding, and you don't want to be here, you want to escape. Or you will be all heart open, but you'll be taken advantage of, and then you start to feel like exhausted because you've given so much and nobody is giving you back. Like, all of these are illusions. These are illusions on this journey that is here to allow you to actually anchor into a higher frequency standard. And that needs to be the start of everything that you're doing, because you have to be home. You have to be back at your home base. You have to be in the center of your divinity for anything to ripple out. So if you're not home, the ripple will be weak. It won't go fast. It won't go far. And it will be coming from this need to control and force and, like make things happen. But it's never been about making things happen. It's about you coming home within. When you experience the path in darkness, that darkness literally is here to transmute and alchemize your soul so that you can present your highest soul to the world. It's not here to weaken you or do anything against you. It's literally here as an initiation, as a training ground. And your work is to stay on the path of having the courage to follow your dreams, having the courage to follow your desires, having the courage to do what may seem to you like nobody else is doing. Because that is who you're here to be. If anyone else is doing that, then it's not uniquely who you are. And the infinite wants to experience itself through you, wants to experience itself through you in its own way. Yeah? So, taking a pause, how's everyone feeling? If you have any questions, please feel free to drop that right now. I would love to answer anything at all. Anything at all. Okay. All right. If no one has any questions, let's just take a moment right now and let's deepen into this energy that we're in right now. We're in this beautiful energy of Tea Spirit. We're moving through a beautiful journey through the veins of the leaves. Even though we're limited in the sense that we're not able to be in ceremony today, right here, right now, the spirit is very alive. I was able to open the space up before we came in here. Oh, Diana has a question. What do you think of tea leaf readings? I've had this question a lot. I personally don't do it. I haven't done it so far, but who knows? Mainly because it's not really in my tradition to do so. I feel like it's something that is more on the Western side of things. But never say never, right? If that's something you're drawn to and you can communicate with tea in that way, cultivate that. For me, How I work with tea spirit is very much a communion in the infinite field. So I would actually summon or awaken the tea as I prepare for the ceremony, and then in the silence, the field is open. So in the ceremony, we will sit together without saying anything. We'll just exchange. I will be serving the tea, but what is happening in me is that I am creating a crystalline vessel, so that the cosmic energy that is flowing through can flow through the energy of me as I serve, and then the bowls that I received through through the screen. I work with people mostly online, by the way. You can actually feel the energy in the most pristine fashion, because tea is a very purifying and clarifying energy, and it's very harmonious. It desires to harmonize you with Tao. There's nothing that it wants out of you. Like, it doesn't want for anything. And I think that's also one of the biggest reasons why tea has been commoditized in such a fashion that it's become so unrecognizable in so many ways, beyond its medicinal version, the very version of itself that's indigenous, that is spiritual. That is a spiritual plant medicine to begin with. It is a plant spirit medicine, but because it is so loving and really willing to be with humans, like so willing to be with humans that, even as humans change her and fashion her into different things to sell it, she still does her work, even if it's in very, very subtle energetic ways. She still does her work. And that's why, for example, I always like this example where even if you were at work and you picked up a box of tea that's in a tea bag that's actually the leftovers of a bigger leaf that was in process in the factory, you pick it up and you drank it, you will still feel, you decompress, right? Like that's kind of what we think of tea as these days, but there is so much more to tea than we remember. And I think tea, very similar to Mother Earth, they give us so much grace. They really want for us to be the best, and they do whatever they can, even in different forms that we shape them into, which may not be its highest good for its highest good. And I think it's time that we all recognize this and come back to honoring tea, listening to tea in terms of what they want rather than what we want from them. And I think there are lots of artisanal farmers who are doing this. That's the tea that I have committed and I've committed myself to work with. We call them living tea, basically, and they are from indigenous origins, and they are pesticide free, fertilizer free. And the place that they grow in are irrigation free, so they are very naturally in a symbiotic relationship with nature. So it's not reliant on anything to grow, and also the soil is not manipulated in any way, because the minute you manipulate the soil's lifespan actually shortens, and that also contributes to a problem on Mother Earth where there's like landslides and things like that. We don't want that, and also we want to work with tea that is seed propagated, so it grew from a seed, rather than what is happening mostly with commercial tea, which is from branch. So they cut the branch off the original tree and they plant it. What happens is that the roots growing from the branch is very fragile, so it doesn't hold the soil that deeply compared to a tree, obviously. And then that contributes to also, the soil being really manipulated, which is not a great thing, because once they start doing that, they will need to put fertilizers and biochemicals to ensure its health, and that's not natural. So we do our best to work with ancient tea trees, wild growth tea trees. Even if they are not the wild growth type, they are in the arboreal versions where they are grown wild, but also still quite young. But yes, I've had the pleasure, and I still do, share really ancient trees, like thousands of years old, hundreds and thousands years old, working with people who are genuinely in love with the tea, genuinely listening to tea, and really honoring, like, okay, this year the harvest will be this much, so we're not gonna do anything more. Or like, this year there's a lot of harvest, so we're gonna have a little bit more. Like, that is something to contemplate for all of you, I believe, because I think it reflects who we are as humans, how we operate as humans as well. We always think that we have to be doing all the time, that we cannot rest, or even when we're having a holiday, we're thinking about, oh my god, next week I have to go to work, or whatever it is, right? Like, when we are more aligned, when we come back to a practice that really aligns us with nature, we start to actually realize that we get to live as that, and what is harmonious for me and what is not harmonious for me, and it's different for everyone. And then you start to, like when I told you the story of me at the beginning, when I was very affected by what others were doing. Right now, I can tell you that I'm in a really beautiful, liberated place where I know that I am the one. Like, I am the one. Everything is just my perception. Really. And so I get to choose. I get to choose how I want to perceive the world. I get to choose how I want to take whatever that's happening. And I know that it's not happening to me, but it's happening for me, as me, through me, because I'm co-creating this reality, because I'm the divinity. I'm a fractal of the divine. And the more I'm able to activate this higher level of consciousness, the more I am merged and at one with the unified field. And that unified field, literally, if you're a visionary and you're here to lead at the forefront of the new earth, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. As the unified field, your infinite potential exists here. And for you to tap into that, you are in that place of limitlessness. And now, for the new earthers, we are here to bring that into full embodied presence. And it starts with choosing to work with the uncomfortable things, having uncomfortable conversations from a place of love. Refining our power through the power of love, because love is the resonance of the cosmos. It's the resonance of Tao. It's the resonance of source. And it isn't the love I'm talking about here is not the love of like, if you love me, then I will love you, or like, if you love me, then you will give me that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this all-encompassing feeling of truth, of deep remembrance. And you often feel that in the moments when you look at the sky and you marvel at the clouds, you often get this when you go to the sea and you look at the great vastness of the waters, or when you're watching a sunset, a sunrise, when you're out in nature and you're observing the great mountains. Like that feeling you get is the love that we're talking about here. It's the grace of the divine, And oftentimes this feeling actually comes through in the ceremony, and it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful to be able to access that so quickly. And it is a state of inner peace, and more than that, it is a state where we get to level up. We get to enter into a higher state of consciousness. Yeah, it is a living practice. Tea as a Dao, a living practice to tend to what is alive and true in the present moment as it is, so that we can come back to all there is. Yeah, and this is what it means to weave that into our daily lives. And you know, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. Choose your tea leaves wisely. If you need any assistance with that, I'm very happy to touch base with you, so you can drop me a DM. You can put the leaves and put them into a bowl, because the bowl is really the very original state, if you will, of coming into sacred ceremony with tea. And have some hot water and just pour some hot water in, and then just sit with that quietly and see what comes out. That's it. You don't need a lot. And I know that there have been many women who would approach me and they would say like, oh, I would love to do the mentorship with you, but I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this teapot, I don't have all. I'm like, girl, you don't need any of that. You don't need all of those things to begin with. You can literally just sit on the floor with a bowl, which by the way comes with the sacred set that I would send out to you when you join Cha Dao for the multidimensional woman, and that is a 3-month mentorship with me. You will get that, and then you will get incense, because incense is also very much part of the art of Dao, the art of tea, and we will work together with different tea leaves, working with different genres. Every leaf is it comes with a different quality of the spirit, and that is where you really quiet the mind, and you sharpen your senses, you refine your inner power through meditation. This is meditation in motion, because you're very focused on the brewing of the tea. You're very focused on mastering the movements. It's kind of like a ballerina who is at first mastering the art of the movements, that okay, I need to do this, I need to move like this, and eventually you embody the movement so seamlessly that you are moving in that infinite field, but your body is still able to do the dance itself. And this is what they mean by using form to enter the infinite in Buddhism. The Buddhists have a lot of ways to do so. You know, the mantra, the meditation, the sitting meditation, the bowl, the chanting, the drum they have. All of the things that we have in form is merely a bridge. It's just a bridge. Everything else beyond the bridge is up to us. How deep do we want to go? Are we resisting? Are we holding back? Are we ready to surrender? Are we willing to see? Or are we choosing to be righteous? Are we choosing to be right? You know, so it's really important for me, at least for me, that you understand where you come from, who you are in the cosmogenesis, because then no one can convince you of who you are not. No one can take your power away, and you will not even think that giving your power away is possible. And to do this work, to share this work with you as a spiritual mentor, as a Cha Dao ceremonial keeper, it is very clear for me that it is not about me. It is about the transformation I can bring. And that's why the mentorship space that I spoke of, Cha Dao for the multidimensional woman, is really the first of its kind in so many ways, because they're really all parts of you forms the whole. So no conversations are off limits. We go cosmic, we talk about dragons, we talk about losing our mind, because you have to lose the mind for the limitlessness to come through. You have to lose the mind for miracles to happen. If you're losing your mind, great news. This is where we go cosmic, and we bring that into the everyday life. Nothing is too strange. Really. We are right now in this level, like we're at the floor of the 5D consciousness, literally. and you get to choose to walk through it, or you get to say, no, I'm staying back. I'm just going to be in the confusion, in the chaos, in the whatever. And that is also perfectly your truth. Multiple truths are coexisting at the same time right now, and it's one of the most beautiful times to be multidimensional. Because once you're able to anchor in your divinity, you are able to see all the different strands, and you're able to come back. The minute you come back to your truth, what is true and alive in the moment, and move from there, wow, let me tell you, the amazing stuff that you can create beyond time and space is just phenomenal. It really, 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 really is. We have to break out of this linear way of thinking. All the things, if you're in this place of like, I want to manifest this or this, think bigger. Really. This is my invitation to you today. Think bigger. Yeah? When you think about a devotional practice, think bigger. Go back to the time when the ancient ones did this without even giving it a name. Get back into the sacred within. The more people do this, the more the network grows, the more we get to all ascend to the next consciousness. And let me tell you this, one person doing this is more than enough. The power of one. Guys, like, one day maybe, I don't know, Heather might be up there in the 5D consciousness, and Diana is kind of like feeling it, like, oh my god, I'm going through the pains of the ascension journey. Even then, Heather up there is going to hold the network for all of us, and then Diana will be eventually brought up as well. This is how we work together in this network. This is a great tapestry we're all weaving together. So let us be the one who is going to leave behind a legacy that is completely a new form, new vibrational frequency, new, I don't know what that word would be like, but I can only think of a new earth, right? So I'm very, very excited, and I just want to say thank you so much for sticking with me for all this time together. Like, if you are here, give me like a heart if you want to. Thank you so much. I love you so much. The Lionsgate portal is open. It opened officially yesterday, but and honestly, I felt the energy. I was like, I woke up and I didn't know the date, so I was like, I don't know what it is, but I feel so fucking alive and I'm ready to fly. And I was telling my husband, like, we need to go out to the ocean. I don't know what it is, we just have to go. And I managed to drag him out and he was loving it. He was like, thank you so much for bringing me out here. And I was like, my pleasure. I went into the water. It was icy cold because, you know, Scotland. But after a while, I started to feel waves of warmth. As I was swimming in the water, I was feeling some waves of warmth coming through, and I heard a message, look up. And so I turned around and I floated in the water and I looked up and I saw the sun, the solar consciousness that we are, beaming back towards me. And I saw this beautiful like a filigree that was just kind of moving through the sun. And it was so divine. It was literally like the divine's face staring back at me and gazing at me and telling me, keep going, you're doing this. And I opened my whole body up and I could feel my frequency completely up leveling, the crystalline vessel really receiving. And then when I finished, I felt the third eye really bursting open and receiving the solar light. And then I heard another message as that happened. It's like, touch the ground, go into the water and bring a seashell up, which I did. And then they told me to hold it in my hand, in my palms. And I held it in my palms and they said to charge it. And to charge it through you as the solar light, you as the solar goddess. And this was so beautiful because I was able to see my hands in the water. And it was just such an exquisite moment. And I just felt like the world just quantum shifted for me. And as I got out of the water, I felt like a whole different person, like a holy woman, like a wholly different person. And I knew certain things had to shift. And so I up leveled several things in my business, which is really an extension of my soul. The portal is open for anyone who wants to come in and join me. We are going to have a tea ceremony in the cosmos. We're going to have a light body activation. It's a 2-hour bonanza. It's happening on the 8th of August. And it's going to just be phenomenal. And I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited for more things to come as I announce them. But this is what we're having. And so if this is for you, you're very welcome to check out the link in my bio or drop me a DM, whatever you're feeling right now. I mean, you are literally alchemizing your carbon-based body in every way. So I'm so excited for all of you to experience this and really come forth, come forward, come upward. You are doing it already, even if you're not aware. Yeah. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here with me. Taking a pause once again, just to help all of you land. And if you have any questions, please bring that forward right now. Okay, I'm gonna just take a pause and drink a sip of water. And if you have water with you, please also make sure you are taking good care of your body. This is a very important time to really bring that forward in your body. Take care of your body. Make sure you're nourishing your body with good food. And yeah, make no mistake, we're really moving into a new Lemurian epoch together. Yeah. Okay. And for those of you who have no idea what the Lionsgate portal is, the Lionsgate portal is when all the constellations are in the Leo energy. Leo as the sign itself is very powerful and just so sublime. It's really the energy of a leader who's here, and such a heart-centered energy, a big heart, big energy. And what happens during the Lionsgate portal, as we can see, is that the sun, the Sirius star, and the Orion's belt are going to move, and Earth, of course, are going to move into a perfect alignment together. And that actually creates the keyhole to allow powerful cosmic light that transcends different timelines to come right through to us. So we want to create a beautiful sacred geometry to allow that to enter and to ground. Most important thing for anything, you know, to really anchor in. Yeah, you can do all the work, but if it doesn't ground, it doesn't get embodied, it doesn't matter. It just goes out of you and you're like, wait, what's going on? I don't feel it. Or like you feel, and this is real by the way guys, you may even feel a lot of sickness, or suddenly something, you know, a bone breaks or something like that. Like these things are really because there are so much higher frequencies coming in that your body needs to readjust, really restructure. And if you're not doing it consciously, it's gonna do it for you. And we don't need that. We all can do this very, very, very consciously and ceremonially, honoring all of this. So I'm very excited to bring this to you. If this is for you, feel free to really DM me, check out my link in my bio, all of that good juicy stuff. You know what to do. All right, my love. Thank you so much. Sending you all my love. Love you, honor you. I appreciate you. And I will see you very, very soon on these internet streets. Thank you.